We have seen students, new startups that has good ideas to use technology for the usefulness of something, of a company. So let's step back a bit and addressing asset tracking, logistics, supply chain management. And logistic, asset tracking, supply chain management is business critical for the vast majority of industries. And the question here for this panel session, discussion we're going to have for the coming hours is how and why IoT technologies in general, and IoT technologies in particular are useful and impactful to solve and to address challenges for industry into supply chain management and logistics. So to start with, I'm with three amazing people where supply chain management is in their DNA. So we have, please welcome on stage, Christopher Fuss, head of DHL Smart Sensor.
Yes, guys, if I do it, you should do it. That's the...
Then Mr. Ludger Bredenstein for Bosch Connected Industry.
Come on, guys. Do I need to teach you every single time?
And finally, Michel Savini, managing principal at Crimson & Co., recently merging with Argonne Consulting, which is leading consulting company in operation and supply chain. Please welcome Michel.
Michel. And as you understood, she was just saying it's very useful. She is actually very useful because she's giving me a break for the next hour because you're going to host these two, actually.
Get out.
I can get out. I'm going to relieve you from my iPad. Thank you so much. Give these guys a big round of applause. I'll see you later, guys.
So, Michel, let's start with you. So, last week, the Financial Times has ranked Argonne Consulting one of the top 10 consulting firms in supply chain and operation. So tell us, what are the key challenges that your customers are facing while optimizing their supply chain or bringing more efficiency into their supply chain? So how you deal with your customer? What are the key challenges for them?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. Really happy to be here at Sigfox Connect. So one of the things that we see our clients facing a lot is what we have called blind flows, which is flows that our clients are blind and cannot see and not understand every step that the flow goes through. And one of those, one example, for example, is sea freight container, because as the container leaves and goes through the different stages, we have up to 20 players around the same flow and several interactions. And to know exactly at what point a container is and if it's really on the boat that we think it is and if it has been unloaded or on the port is really important to have the capability to track that. And that's one of the places where we use IoT as a solution to have visibility on this kind of flows. Another challenge that we see is on complex subcontractor flows that some companies have. So in aerospace industry, you have a lot of subcontractors and you don't know where your flows are. And so we use IoT to know exactly at what place different products are and how much time they're waiting. And this gives the companies a lot of more visibility on the product. It allows them for better planning, and it also allows their final customer to have more visibility on what they're doing.
Okay, and then, Christopher, DHL vision is to be the logistic company. Who has never received anything delivered by DHL? Well, I do have received plenty of things through DHL, and I have no clue how it gets to my home, but it gets to it. You're present in more than 220 countries, so that makes DHL the most international world company, most probably. So as a solution provider, and where you are delivering, your key asset is to deliver the right thing to the right guy at the right time. Do you share this type of issues and challenges, giving visibility to final customers, wherever they are myself or my mother, or and industries?
Yeah, first of all, also thank you for having me here on DHL at Sigfox Connect. I totally agree with that, yeah. It always, and I think we'll come to that again and again, it always depends for sure about what type of visibility is needed, and this is depending on the asset or the thing that we are shipping. And if it's a small one or a big one, imagine having a letter, a parcel, or a container, which is the same problem, or we are faced with the same problems, as Michelle just said. And for sure, it also always is really important what kind of good is shipped in there. So is it, for instance, a pharmaceutical good, which needs more and more visibility, or we need more visibility about the conditions of the good that we are shipping. But we see that there is a lot of requests from our customers, even on the smallest asset and smallest items that we are shipping, that they want to have the end-to-end visibility where exactly the thing is.
Is it where the thing is, or I'm going to receive the shipment, my shipment, in the right condition and at the right time?
For sure, imagine food logistics. So if people order meat, they want to have the meat when they want to do their barbecue, first of all, but also in the good and right condition. And this is always a combination, and this is always why we have to look into different kind of solutions and tracking options. Sometimes it's only about giving a signal if something has arrived or, for instance, has been opened, if that was at the right time, at the right position, or even if the condition, the overall condition, if there have been shocks, for example, on modules for the car industry, for the manufacturer, if they have been affected by shocks that are invisible for the receiver or consignee.
Interesting. And Ludger, as Bosch Connected Industry, you're a solution provider, delivering to your customer an end-to-end visibility, but from procurement, production, and also delivering goods to final customer. Your solution, Nextseed, is kind of man in the middle, in between the producer and the transporter to deliver. What type of requirements? What are the requirements of your customer in order to align all the planets in order to have the proper shipment with the proper goods, with the proper procurement at the right place?
Well, it's a technical challenge, for example, because we are trying to actually cover the full process. So, like you said, we're covering the visibility of the product from the production place through shipment, transport, goods received into the factory. And the structure you need, the technical features you need are very complex because you have different techniques to trace product inside the factory. You have to modify or transfer the tracker ID to a shipment information during goods received and during shipment, and then you have to track the asset over the full transportation flow, which can be a complex thing. Like if you go into a sea freight container, you have different challenges there. In many cases, you don't have connectivity, so it's a thing where you actually have to have a broad portfolio of solutions to cover the different aspects and the different requirements of customers.
And then, what type of technology? Well, we were speaking. I was saying at the beginning that so we understand what are the key challenges: visibility, to be able to adapt to whatever kind of assets, high-value goods or low-value goods, from a letter to a high manufactured machine, let's say. So I suppose that it requires different technology to adapt to what needs to be track and traced or monitored during the shipments. How you deal with that? Both DHL, but Bosch, but also with your customer at Argon Consulting. What are the key requirements? What do you consider as key elements to select the right technology to build the right solution for the specific customer?
Like Christopher would say, the right solution depends on what the customer requirement is. And what we try to do is we try to integrate different partners into our system. So we don't do everything by our own, but integrate, for example, companies that provide indoor tracking technology. We provide or we integrate different partners providing different hardware solutions. So like Sigfox trackers.
And for you?
Yes.
Obviously
it
you
depends,
share, it
yeah.
depends.
It really, as a global company, as you introduced DHL being present in 220 countries and regions, how we call it, really we have to look what kind of use case do we have or necessity. Do we need information about things that we use, or do we need information about things that we move, for example? This is something where we have to differentiate. And then it also depends whether we need a global visibility, for example, whether it's about the condition monitoring or only location information, whether we have it in a regional approach. And with all these different kinds of characteristics and dimensions that we have to take into consideration, we come up with different solutions for sure. So whether we are in a rural area or an urban area, whether we are in an indoor use case or outdoor use case, there is really no one-size-fits-all solution that we can use for all of these different things. And that's why we have to combine different elements that are available out there in the market to build up the proper solution for these use cases.
And looking at your customer, well, I've got a preconceived idea on that question, of course, but when a customer does have a specific issue, they want to see one single head, and they just want to have something that works and does not care how it works? Or you have customers that want to deal with here a device, here data, here an application. How do they behave? Something completely integrated, packaged? Or you've got as well customers that want to deal with all the key elements? How does it work?
Customers drive us to combine the data from different sources to one database and to have one access point for the data. And for sure, if nothing really happens, if everything is on time in the good condition, they would rather look into this kind of data. But for sure, IoT in general or track and trace devices are today often used only to look into if something happened. Take the pharma industry, for instance. They look onto the temperature values during a shipment, and there is really a bunch of different devices out there on the market. If they are based on USB or Bluetooth, RFID, Sigfox, NB-IoT, whatever, or 3G, 2G, and customers today are using different operators, different devices themselves, or the operators are using devices, but they would like to have this data combined in one data source. And that's also the approach that we take to build up the infrastructure for that we can attach different sources of information and make this and provide this data then available and make this available for our customers.
Same type of issues at Bosch Connected Industries, or same type of approach?
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, you have large customers like DHL, so large companies which are very much into building up a solution on their own, so they're capable of building a solution and operating a solution. We have a lot of smaller customers that would rather not operate a system on their own, but trying to find somebody doing this who has the experience to operate a system, to operate devices, and then provide the data for them, which is the actual value for those customers.
Michel, you're addressing a large type of customers with different issues while improving efficiency in operation. Do you share these approaches, or do you have another angle?
As a consulting firm, one of the things we help clients a lot is, a bit orchestrate how we'll put that solution in place, because you have different solution providers, different technologies that you have to make work together. And so we help bringing the right partner to the table to do this kind of work, and because we know well the ecosystem of digital technologies that we can use, we usually help a lot with this type of orchestration. And the other important part for our clients is actually, we were discussing with Ludwig before getting on stage on the sea freight container solution. He told me that it's a tricky case because sea freight is pretty cheap, so as soon as you start putting a cost on top of that, people are going to say, well, it costs me a lot more. So just to balance that, you have to help your client understand the new value that you're bringing with the technology, so that you can make a real business case of the solution, and you can say, okay, maybe each of my containers is going to cost me this much, but on the other side, I'm going to have a lot more visibility of where my containers are. I'm going to be able to be more reactive and make sure that if a container missed the boat, I can find another solution to deliver my client. I can orchestrate better when the container arrives for the truck pick up to deliver the client. I can also bring more visibility to my client, and I can also make a lot of savings on in-transit stock. So we help a lot understanding the whole value chain of the solution that we're bringing to the client, and by making that, they completely understand that maybe there is an investment to be made, but there is a lot of value to be gained.
So it's all about the right balance in between the value it brings and the total cost of ownership of bringing together a solution, right? So how do you see Sigfox in that picture then, compared to not other technology, but it's a matter of technology, but not only, but it comes, as Sigfox comes with a global approach, worldwide approach. Okay, today it's Sigfox World, 51 countries, but expanding. So how do you see the value that can bring Sigfox to the overall value that is brought by supply chain management for your customers?
Like Michel said, it's all about finding finding the business case which pays for the customer. And we have customer requests where a classical solution, I would say, like using a 2G device or 2G tracker, doesn't work because the device is too expensive, or you need a complex infrastructure, and so there is no positive business case for the customer. And in this case, sometimes the business case works very well with a Sigfox device because the whole structure is completely different. I have a low cost compared to 2G device. It's a low cost integrated sensor long range connectivity device which runs on a battery for quite a long time compared to a classical 2G device, with included also location feed capabilities. So some use cases work very well with Sigfox devices, and there is a positive business case which I can't reach with the classical structure. That's where Sigfox comes into place.
Speaking about location, as we claim that location matters not only for track and trace, but indoor, outdoor, but you can have a location where 10 kilometers, knowing that this piece is in the range of 10 kilometers range, it's enough, while other use case you need to have 1 meter of precision. How do you estimate with your customer what type of precision you need? It's while you're running a use case and you know what is necessary, or it's from day one you want to have super extreme precision, or large precision is enough? How do you proceed? Tell me.
Yeah, I would say the accuracy of the localization is more or less mainly clear from the beginning on. Sometimes we just, or when we talk about our used assets, we just need to know where they are. And sometimes a ping a day would be enough to know where's a container, for example. Mm-hmm. And this would be sufficient for us to know how to do replenishment, for example. With other assets that we are using, the accuracy must be much higher because they are used in daily operations. And we even need to know in which order they stand, for example. And and this is something that I would like to emphasize. It's not about having the visibility, but having the data that we can use then afterwards to have better processes behind. And sometimes I think if we are talking about asset tracking, everybody's talking about visibility, but it's indeed to improve processes.
I'm sure you're sharing the same opinion, do you?
Sorry?
You're sharing the same opinion, do you? That it's more about exploiting information that are transmitted to information system, and also accuracy of the location to analyze what and where they are, or where they stay when they move, or it's different for your activity?
It depends. We have use cases where customers actually want to know where is my asset or where is my shipment. But in some cases, they just need to know roughly where is my material. In some production use cases, they need to have an information on a centimeter or meter level, where then high cost technology like ultra wideband comes into place. It really depends on the use case and in the back on the business case. I had discussed with customers asking for a high accuracy location information inside the factory, but then they figured out the costs are too high and there's no business case behind, so it doesn't work. You need to discuss on the business case first and then decide what's the right technology you can afford for this business case.
Interesting. So have you been inspired by the announcement of this morning during the keynote with the different bubbles with different size that we can locate them from the world, a country, a region, an industry, a manufacturing plant?
Yeah.
Is it something that you might consider then?
Yeah, it's an exciting concept. It's very interesting because it's an alternative way to locate the material, and I think it's a quite nice and cost-effective way, which opens up new business cases and gives me the possibility to get solutions to customers which work with their business case.
Michel, with regard with what Christopher was saying about what matters is to get this information and interpret this information to have to make decision and really to have a business process that has been optimized. How do you see then the future of supply chain management, the so-called supply chain 4.0?
Yeah, well, actually, we've published a paper on the topic. Our vision for the supply chain 4.0 is 4 things. It is connected, it is automated, it is predictive, and it is secured. By connected, and this is the first piece of the structure, we use IoT as one of the technologies to really connect and get the data from whatever item we're tracking or whatever flow we're trying to understand. And as much data we collect, the better we understand the flow that we're trying to interpret. But that's not enough. Actually, we experiment a lot with our clients, and we all learn by doing. And for example, on some of the flows that we've been working on, we've been getting a lot of data, and then we've spent a lot of time interpreting that data to kind of understand what is happening on the flow. And we have to bring some, at this point, human intelligence to say, okay, this is what is happening. The next step to that, as I said, on the predictive item of it, is to use, and we do have data scientist teams who are working at the moment to interpret the signal that we're getting from the IoT items to kind of understand what is happening, and so that we can start clustering the information the way we receive it. The third step I talked about was automated. Once we do have that information and we have understood it and we know what is happening on the flow, the idea of having all this, as much, the more we connect things, the more information we'll have to process and we'll have to act upon. And so we use other technologies like, for example, RPA, robotics process automation, also known lately as robotics cognitive automation, to take all that data and act upon it. So that's a third piece of the puzzle. And the fourth one, and I think some of the discussions this morning were very important on the topic, is we want it to be secured. So as the more we receive this information, we have to make sure that we are the owners of it and that we're using it the way it should be. So all the topics around cybersecurity, or even some people sometimes tell us, compare us IoT versus blockchain, and we say no, it doesn't work like that. It's different for different purposes. If we use this analogy that I said of the four technologies, for us IoT is more on the connected side, and blockchain is more on the encryption and on the security side of things.
Yeah, so this technology remains complementary and well, to address a business case, if I was up to wrap up the discussion we just had, it's efficiency in improvement of the efficiency in operation in supply chain management. It's about bringing visibility across the full life cycle of a shipment of a good, whatever size it is. It's about getting connected in order to gather the right information at the right time, wherever it is. Then it's about to gather all those information and interpret them in order to have actionable decisions and to send somebody or to bring the best user experience to your customers. And finally, the future is bright for IoT in supply chain management, is it? Yes, and specifically for Sig Fox, is it? Thanks a lot for this discussion. You're here all the day long, so yes. Please, in the audience, do not hesitate to come to those experts that will be keen to explain what they are doing, how they are doing it, and not only with Sig Fox, but also with Sig Fox. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yes, please leave the stage. I'm sorry. I need 1 minute.
Yes.
So, because we have 1 minute, and by the way, you have 30 more minutes before you can get to lunch. Sorry, guys, but look, she's amazing. And that's exactly where I wanted to ask you, because we met briefly maybe a few months ago for the first time.
Right.
Right. And you said it a little bit during the panel, but can you tell us why you chose to work for Sig Fox? What was the drive?
So it has started. So in my previous company, I was chasing Sig Fox to sell them security.
Oh.
Yes. So I get to know Sig Fox, and the more I was discovering what Sig Fox was doing, I said, okay, it's not only slideware, it works for real. It's really different. I mean, it's really tackling the problem of different industry. I had slightly the same type of customers.
Yes.
Industry players, I mean, Bosch was one of my customers previously. It was not the connected industry, but nevertheless. And what really attracted me at Sig Fox is that they did understand exactly where the problems are. First, starting with problems.
Okay.
It's not only technologies, but 12 bytes is enough, and far enough to make the difference.
Yes.
Instead of having terabytes of data going through a pipe. It's about to be global and not only national or regional.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, it's low cost. So it's doing less to do more. That was this type of, how we say that? I don't want to use disruptive, but to be the naughty kid.
Transformative. No,
yeah,
I don't know.
Just to be the naughty kid of the block, saying that, you know what, I just need a piece of metal with an antenna, just need 12 bytes, which is less than an SMS,
yes,
to make the difference.
Sure.
So be part of this adventure. That's why I've joined Sig Fox.
As you realize, I'm asking every person I meet on stage to ask me why they joined Sig Fox. By the end of the day, I will actually apply to work there or something at the end. I think our next speakers, they are ready, so we can go on. So you can invite. So again, I'm going to go for another break while she handles the stage masterfully. And then I'll come back to break for lunch. So please invite your speakers.